And hello, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me today, my amazing co-host.
Steven, the medium, but I'm just so much more than that.
You are an attorney.
Yes.
You are a medium.
Yes.
You are my husband of 30 plus years.
Yeah, and that's it? There's nothing about my looks?
Okay, of course. And you're smart and pretty and all of that stuff. Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
How are you, Steven?
I'm excellent. We're here, right?
We are here, and there's, that is one thing. When I wake up, I'm grateful just to be here and to have one more opportunity to live fully. So, yes, of course, I'm happy to be here. How about you? What's going on with you?
Well, I'll tell you, this morning I went to the canal, in the Cape Cod Canal, to take a walk. I didn't run, and I did just under 5 miles of walking, and I was smiling pretty much the whole way because I was thinking exactly what you just said, Elix, that just in the moment how grateful I am that I live here, that I can get out, drive a car to the canal, smell the ocean, just walk, just be in the present. And I had a whisper in a note to do, so I took it in my pocket with a pen, and halfway down my walk, I stopped and did a little meditation. I wrote the note, and then I came back. And on the way back, Elix, there were probably about 15 dragonflies just all over me. One almost flew right into my head. It was just incredible.
All spirit driven. But listen, yeah. I'm curious, and I'm sure everyone may be curious as well. Why are you not running since you're a runner? You want to share the story?
Yeah, you asked me what is a whisper in a note. It is a note that I rate, and it's a service that you can go on my website. It's really cool, and you can select it for you, or you can select it as a gift, and whoever you want it to go to and whoever the person you want to write it in spirit, I meditate, ask them to step forward, and they start dictating to me what they want me to write, and then I send that via email with not only the note, but a recording of me going through the entire note. If you've never tried it, you should try it.
It is actually amazing. And I was going to ask you about the whisper in a note, but I was very curious about the first question. But anyways, a whisper in a note really is fabulous because it's like, really literally they not only get a note, but it's like they get you life going through the note. So if you haven't had a whisper in a note, I encourage you to go to Steven the Medium and look it up and get yourself a note ASAP. So
it's really good. It's really great.
All right, so why are you not running?
I wanted to just stop and smell the roses and just really
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's I'm just giving my body a break. That's what it is. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. I'm very boring, Elix. Very, very boring. Elix just wants me to tell everybody in the world that I was flying down the staircase of my office, and my slipper that I was wearing, the top of it sort of bent, and Steven came flying down the stairs. But not using his legs, using every other part of his
whole
body. So I banged every part of my body, and thank God, knock on wood, nothing happened. But I'm sore. Of
course.
So.
And he didn't tell me about it. I only sort of knew or asked when I saw him taking Advil, because he never takes Advil. And also, you should tell people that Elix, your husband, has been telling you for days to not use those slippers, that it's time to put them in the trash because you were going to fall, because you've tripped several times, but you didn't listen to me. Is that accurate?
Scoozy?
Mm-hmm. That would be accurate, people.
It was more than weeks. It was
more than weeks, and Steven is super playful and foolish, and sometimes he's playing around with the dog, sometimes he's just running around like crazy. And I'm always yelling at him to be careful. And of course, with the slippers that I knew he was tripping already, I'm like, you got to get rid of this. You got to get rid of this. You're going to fall. Of course, he falls. He doesn't tell me. because you knew I was going to yell at you.
It slipped my mind.
And here we are. Yeah, and it was a
slipped
bad
my
fall.
mind.
Yeah, and it was a bad fall, and thank God you had angels really protecting you, for sure.
Hey, listen, you know what? I'm the one that's punished enough because, as you know, Elix, and probably everyone that listens to me chatting, one of the things I love most is running, and I run all the time. So not running is a punishment for me. I don't like it, but I'm just making sure that my body's good. So that's why I walked, and like I said, I walked just under 5 miles. It was good.
Yeah, and I mean, walking is just as an amazing exercise as running. It's the same distance. Whether you walk, whether you run, you actually went further walking. Because you did almost 5 miles. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, usually I run like about 4.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty awesome. And the canal is just a beautiful, beautiful setting. So I can totally get why you would love the canal. But
the smell of the ocean is I love it. Yeah, I love that smell.
So I got other things to talk about. We also gonna talk about. We have the dogs in all of Cape Cod now have come to our pond, and you would think I am exaggerating. I swear to you all, I am not exaggerating. Last night at 11 p.m., Steven, I see him getting ready to go outside, and I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I got to go outside to put the food for the dogs so that in the morning when they come, it's already there. I'm like, oh my God. Now he's changing his whole schedule so that he can put food outside by the pond so that the dogs know in the morning they come and they get their breakfast. And I kid you not, this is not way of a lie. How many dogs were there this morning? Half a dozen? No, I mean, 2 dozen dogs?
Yeah, well, about a dozen.
I mean, okay, so this is already crazy. Now they're telling all of the dogs in the neighborhood, and tomorrow there'll be another dozen coming in. It's crazy. And so not only is he now having to go to the store more than twice a week because he's running out of food really, really fast. Because
it's all birdseed. That's what I'm feeding the ducks.
It's all birdseed, and so now God only knows. Now we're gonna have to have a delivery of birdseed every day in this house.
That's not a bad thing, Elix.
To feed all the animals. I know. So that's story number 1. Story number 2. Tell people about your baby birds that just flew off the nest today.
Well, listen, if I smoked and even smoked cigars occasionally, which I don't, I would get one because I'm a proud father. I check the bouquet on our front porch, and the little nest is empty. So the babies, they grew up. They just flew out, and now they're in the world by themselves, and I feel very sad that I lost my babies.
Yeah. But and anyone listening would think, oh well, that's nice, that's normal. No, it's not normal because he was watering the plants as if it's raining because he doesn't want to disturb them. He was short of putting yellow line across the staircase so that nobody comes in and out of the stairs so that they don't get disturbed.
Oh, the plastic tape. If I had it, I would have.
Oh, of course you would have. And he also doesn't put the light at night because they're sleeping and the light would disturb them. Okay. I mean, somebody please validate that, I'm not the crazy one. Okay. Please. I beg of you. Somebody. So,
Felix, I'm just your normal run-of-the-mill kind of guy.
Yeah, there's nothing, honestly,
that Steven, loves animals.
Nothing normal about you. Nothing, and I love you. That's why we've been married for 31 years. So I love you. I love all of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
why? Thank you.
There's no ugly, but you know what I mean. Sure. And you also have something, an event happening tomorrow, right?
I do have an event. I have an event that is at the American Legion in Marlborough, Massachusetts. It's at our 90 Maple Street. It's 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So if you're anywhere in the area, you just go to it's a fundraiser for One Last Gift Foundation, and this organization is really amazing because what they do is they provide financial support for either elderly or disabled people or their families that aren't able to or don't have the means to pay for funeral expenses, so they assist in that. So we're doing a fundraiser for this organization, and you get the tickets through their website, One Last Gift Foundation, and it's going to be amazing. It's a great thing because it's in the afternoon, and I like doing afternoons occasionally because there are older people that don't necessarily like coming out for 7 p.m. and they would rather come in the afternoon, and some maybe not even be able to drive at night or it's more difficult. So it's a really great way to give that population a chance to come and just have a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So if you are anywhere in the New England, Massachusetts area, that's an opportunity to get to see Stephen the Medium.
And Helix.
And you get to see me because, of course, I'm going to be there. I'm the sidekick of, Stephen's performance. So I'll be there, so you'll get to meet us. Let's see. So the other thing, Stephen, I also don't want to miss out on, a shout out to Adam and Erica and Derek, and I don't know the girl's name at Dawn and Sons because you had that event sold out last weekend.
It's Kim, I think.
Kim, and you do an event there almost every month, Stephen? Something like that, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be planning something.
You'll be back.
Yes.
Sometime in September, I am assuming. But it was a great event, and honestly, we couldn't be more grateful to Erica and Adam and Derek, and the young woman Kim, I think, hopefully. For their hospitality and generosity and how wonderful they are, and that was an amazing event.
Yes,
and for me, it's like every time I go there, I'm a kid in a candy store because it's such a beautiful high-end wine store, and I love wine. We love wine, so I can't help myself. I spend a lot of money.
Can I just say something quickly too? That
Sure.
This is a group of maximum of 16 people, so everybody gets read. And I started doing this couple, and this woman came in late, maybe about 10 minutes late. And apparently, we found this out later that she wasn't the person originally coming. The person originally coming had some kind of health issue, so she took that person's ticket and sat down. And I was finishing up with this couple. She sat next to the couple, and I was going to go to the left of the couple, and I just do a circle to make sure I get everybody, but this woman sat to the right of the couple. So as I was finishing, I was just about to move to the left, and I hear, "I'm her mother, but go to her first. I know you're going the other way, Stephen, but go to her." And I'm like, okay. And she said, "Say Elizabeth." So I said, okay, I thought I was going this way, and I look at the girl, the woman, and say, "But your mother's here, and who's Elizabeth?" And she looks at me, she's like, "That's me." Elix, was that not amazing? And she was so excited about it and said, "I wasn't even supposed to be here. You could not know my name." I'm like, "Your mother does." It was really cool.
But there were so many incredible validations there, and so I love it when you go there, and I know people appreciate it because they get so much from it. Oh, Stephen, one other thing before I know we got to take a quick break, but I'm gonna do a shout out to Matt G from the owner of 1620 at the gym. This is a test because he's been holding a grudge because I couldn't join his rowing team for a fundraiser in a few weeks because somebody else asked me first, of course. So he's been a little grudgy, and so I told him to listen today. So I'm patiently awaiting to see if he's gonna listen, because if he's not listening, he's gonna hear from me, from both of us, Stephen. Just saying.
Well, you know what? Test him, Matt. This is the secret word. The secret name to say is Gertrude. So if he listened, he'll know Gertrude. If he says Gertrude, then it's all good.
Yeah. If he's not listening, I'm about to delete him from our conversations. Just saying.
Watch
So
it.
you
Watch
are
it.
warned, my friend. You have been warned. Anyway, so let's take a break, Stephen. When we come back, we are gonna have a conversation that really, I know it's gonna be a conversation relevant to everyone, because it's about relationship. So when we come back, we're gonna talk about our relationships in life, what we do understand when it comes to relationship, how do we nurture and have a thriving connection that provides us with positive impact instead of toxic or pain, and how do we learn when and how to let go of people that are no longer serving us and serving our relationship. And I think that is something worth listening to. So when we come back, we're going to have a conversation with myself, Coach Elix, and the wonderful Stephen the Medium. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium is here.
Stephen the Medium, who's my husband, my co-host, and an amazing and really, really good-looking attorney. And so, Stephen, just for the record, Matt did put the Gertrude password.
He gets an A plus.
So,
he gets an A plus.
He's been saved by the bell. He was put on notice and quickly, took action. So saved by the bell.
I got to tell you though, him and his wife Lisa are one of my favorite people. They are both of them. They're just really amazing people.
I love Matt and Lisa.
Yes.
So today, Stephen, we're talking about relationships. How to build relationships, how to nurture our relationships, how to heal from relationships, and how to and when to know to let go of those relationships that are not serving us. And this is actually a subject that was your idea to bring up, and I really thought what a wonderful conversation to have with our listeners. So the first thing that comes to mind, Stephen, is defining a relationship, a connection. For me, it's a connection, or it can be an association or an interaction between two humans, two people. It can be an interaction with an entity or a thing. And it can take many forms, including personal relationships, whether they're romantic, friendship, family, professional relationships, whether it's a workplace relationship, mentorship relationship, the social relationships, community. In my case, I have amazing relationships in my CrossFit community, acquaintances. It can also be transactional relationships, people that, relationships based on exchange or a mutual benefit, sometimes a business, a service, interaction, and, sometimes a conceptual relationship. Sometimes it's an abstract or symbolic relationship, connection between ideas, concepts, entities, etc. So for you, Stephen, when we talked about the subject, why do you think, why did it come to mind? Why is this a subject that we should be talking about?
I think it's a really important subject, but also based on that list you just gave, there's also relationships that are subjective. There's relationships faith-based, relationship with yourself and God or whoever your higher power is, relationship with your dog or your cat or your rabbit, or a relationship with Mother Nature. It goes on and on and on, right? I love it. And those, just looking at the relationship with your animals or Mother Nature is just so... You start from such a great place that it just gets better and better and better, versus relationships, say, with people. You just never know, because you don't control people, where it's going to go. But in any case, to answer your question, I thought it's really important because, as a medium, and this is what I do every day when I do readings, I am always reminded that we're all energy. That we're all one, right? We're not separate. We're all one. And based on doing all these readings and spirit talking to me and giving, being the translator for dead people and for the people that I'm speaking with, there's always these sort of sometimes validations, sometimes wink, wink, just about maybe a compliment of bringing up an old relationship and complimenting the person I'm reading now, to say what they went through and what they learned and where they are now and how it's changed their life. And I just, that happens a lot on so many different levels. And I just thought, boy, relationships are so important for when we're here. And then you go into the whole bigger piece of, Spirit constantly tells me that every single person that you come across or crosses your path, there's a reason for it, right? That's part of it's part of the plan. It's like each one of us has a play, and we're all writing our plays, and we all have these different chapters. And every person that comes in front of you, they're supposed to be in front of you. What you do with that is up to you, and based on how close you are to your passion or purpose. But relationships are huge. They can destroy somebody's energy, and I don't mean destroy, like completely, get rid of, but can really, I think, just destroy. I should say that destroy the perspective of a person or opinion of a person or how they feel about themselves. There's a lot.
Yeah, and I want to, I definitely want to talk about, those toxic relationships and what are the signs and when we know to let go. But I also want to acknowledge that there are really good relationships that we know are healthy and that keep us or help us grow and thrive. You've had a best friend, Paul J. Martin, for how many years? A long time, a lifetime, really. You've known him, since you were children. And that is a relationship that has grown and has thrived over the years. Why do you think, Stephen, we have those connections with those people, but those connections are not, we can't say we should be having that connection with everyone. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do know. And let me, probably the best way to explain this is from what Spirit has explained to me, is that right before we're going to come onto this earth, we're our moms are going to conceive us, we're going to be born. Right before that, we're signing a contract and looking at the contract exactly. We're agreeing to come back to this life, whether it's your first life or 100th life, if this is like a reincarnation, or this is you're coming back to learn something. So why you're coming, you sign up, you agree to come, and right before you do come, it's almost like you get instructions that you forget about, that are completely erased from your brain and mind when you're born. So clearly we don't remember the contracts, we don't remember why we're here, but you get instructions. And one of the things, as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, is that every single person, whether a person that could come into your life is part of the cluster of souls, which I think, Paul J. Martin and I came in the same cluster of souls. We're supposed to be together, and that's why we're together, so that we came together. And I mean, above and beyond, we were born. He's born 3 weeks after me, so literally we came in the same cluster.
Didn't you guys meet at the hospital when you were babies, just delivered?
Yeah, that's what I say all the time. Yeah, that we knew each other even before we were freshmen in high school, because we didn't know this clearly, but he lived just 3 streets up from me, and then they moved when he was a baby to Cranston and I was in Providence. In any case, so but then there's other people that come across our path that are part of our past life, that they played a different role in our past lives, we played a different role, and they're there for us to learn something. Then there's some that the universe puts in our path to challenge us, that are not supposed to be easy relationships, and the universe in our contracts just look at us, because we have free will, to say, look, you need this challenge in front of you because you need to learn, but it really is up to you how long you keep that challenge in front of you, and that's really going to determine what a part or portion of your life's going to be. So if you can figure this out, like what you said, Elix, that this person is not benefiting me, I need to cut the ties. Or somebody who says, I'm not really sure. I mean, I think they mean well, and continuously keep them in their lives. Like maybe someone who is in a domestic or abusive relationship. All that. There's just so many levels of this, and so many levels of relationships.
Yeah, and I tell you, from my perspective, I see your relationship with Paul, and I admire, I appreciate it so much, because, as you know, I had 3 best friends in my lifetime. 2 of them died from HIV. 1 of them died from ALS later. But I lost, those friendships that were friendships that I felt were gonna be with me forever and ever and ever. So I don't feel I have a lot of new friends, right? And I have a lot of people that I appreciate, that I love, that I admire, but I don't have that connection that you have with Paul any longer. So I miss that in a way, but I guess that's the way it was supposed to be. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, and I also, my best friend even before Paul, this is really when we were growing up together, like we were 4 years old. David, he also took his life in '97. So that was a best friend that he lived across the street from us, and that was somebody that I knew since 4 years old. So I understand that too.
Yeah. Stephen, we need to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk some more about how do we nurture the relationships that we feel are serving us, and how do we begin to recognize the signs when a relationship it's not longer serving us, and how we let go of that. So let's take a small break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation about relationships. We'll be right back.
Madi, somite.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, who is a brilliant attorney and brilliant medium and a brilliant husband. How about that?
Thank
for an
you.
introduction?
Thank you. I love it.
And today we are really having what I would consider a thought-provoking conversation about relationships.
Yeah.
How to build a relationship, how to nurture a relationship, how to heal, and perhaps at some point how to recognize that it's no longer serves. Let's begin with perhaps how do you nurture a relationship so that it thrives?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think it certainly has changed over the years. And based on that change, I think really has determined who the friends or relationships that I have still exist.
Yes.
Ones I got rid of and ones that I have taken on. So I think one of the biggest things is to give grace. When I Paul and I have been friends since freshman year of high school, and I think, how did we stay friends this long? And like anything else, there were ups and downs, but the two of us have never been two people that have, had an argument and stayed away a couple of years or a year. It's never happened. Not that we haven't argued, but it's never happened that we've been sort of torn apart. And I think giving the other person grace, that I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that people are different and people grow at different speeds in different ways. And when I say grow, I really mean just like finding your passion, finding the purpose, finding the meaning of why you're here. And one thing that has been a big lesson to me is that I always thought, well, if I'm moving forward or had these great advancements, then he should too, right? He shouldn't be in a place where I used to be. We should, like, if I'm at this age and growing, he should. And that's one thing that I have realized, that you have to give the person grace to be who they are and be there to listen and advise and just have no judgment and just compassion and understanding and forgiveness, and I think that's how the two of us have been best friends. And I'm talking 30. I'm mixing up 31 years with you and me. I'm talking about freshman year of high school, and Elix, you can attest to this. The two of us text and talk to each other, like, I don't know, 5 times a day.
Yeah, I call them girlfriends because they literally on the phone multiple times a day for a long time, talking about what I say nothing. And sometimes Stephen would be on the phone for hours, hung up, and then in another 30 minutes, oh, I forgot to talk to Paul about this. And I'm thinking, you were on the phone for hours. How could you have forgotten something? I don't even have that much to talk about with anyone for that long period of time, but that's the two of you. And you know what? I totally recognize it, and I appreciate it. And, you know, it certainly doesn't bother me because it's your friendship, you know, with him. So, yeah, but that totally works for you. I would say for me, Stephen, it's really interesting because, and again, this for me has been an ongoing process, and I've grown a lot because I used to, and Stephen would tell you probably, he'll validate this, but I used to stay in bad relationships because I thought I had to. I felt that I had to. I felt that I was a bad person if I let go of a relationship. And I felt that it was a reflection on me until I learned that that's not so. Until I learned that I really have to pay attention and listen to what serves me, and trust that. And you've helped me, Stephen, along the way many, many, many times. You know, and I will say it's still not easy because I still feel that uneased when I'm grieving that relationship, but I know I have to let go. So, but for me, going back to the point of how to nurture good relationships, is I first have to identify that they're not a bad relationship. So once I know it's a good relationship, then I do everything I can to feed everything that I can, positive engagement to build it, to make it grow, to make it thrive. I don't know if that makes any sense for you, Stephen.
Of course it does. Yeah.
You know, but I've learned to be intentional, if you will, in identifying, what are the signs that I should be looking for. And I actually have a couple. I wrote a couple here, Stephen, and I want to run them by you. You know, I think one of the signs that it's critical to look for in recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving you is there an emotional drain? And you and I have experienced people in our life that after we spend some time with them, we feel drained, emotionally and physically drained. And I've learned to recognize the moment I feel that, I know it's not a good relationship. It's definitely not a relationship that I want to nurture or I want to grow. You know what I'm saying, Stephen?
Yes.
Lack of mutual support. This is also one that we both experience when it feels like it's a one-sided relationship, when it feels like you're the only one making the effort, when it feels like you're the only one making the phone call, or even when you're talking to each other and, you know, they're telling you everything about them, but they not once ask you anything about you. And you've called this out many times, Stephen.
Yeah.
Where you actually say, "Well, are you going to ask me about me?" You know, that to me is a sound. It's a sign. Definitely a sign that there is a disconnect in this relationship. It's definitely not a relationship that I want to nurture. No, that doesn't mean I don't love these individuals. That doesn't mean I'm not great with these individuals. Of course I am all of that, but I'm not committed to a nurturing relationship with them. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Toxic behavior. When sometimes I feel manipulated, control, when there's a lot of criticism, when it feels disrespectful, I would, you know, I to me that feels toxic, and you know, and it's a sign for me. Let's see what else. Growth, stagnation. When we feel that you don't feel you're growing together, and you and I have talked about relationships that, you know, we don't feel that there's any mutual growth or personal development, you know, and that to me it's really a sign of, you know, that perhaps the relationship is no longer beneficial. And that's one of the let me oh, there's another one that I think it's really critical. Negativity. If the interactions are predominantly negative, filled with negativity, I'm telling you that is a sign for me you're not for me, because I do not want to be surrounded by a space of negativity. That is just not who I am. So those are my signs. What about for you, Steven?
Well, I mean, I think I come about it a little bit differently because of what I do as a medium. So again, I it's all about energy for me, and I realize that in the bigger picture, when I'm sort of assessing or taking inventory about people that are around me, I really look at it as, are they stopping, or are they putting a slow motion to my energy? They're contributing to my energy that's slowing it down. I think of it's probably not the best analogy, but I always think of like say I was with a bunch of relationships, bunch of friends, or just relationships that are with me, and we're on an island going to another island, and that other island is really where I'm going to thrive. It's where my passion is. It's where I need to get to. And I tell everybody that's getting on my boat that you've got to come lightly. You can't take material things. You can't bog yourself down, because the boat has to be weighted lightly, in that there's several people that come on and don't want to leave things behind, so they tuck them in pockets and hide them, and so they get on the boat, and the boat is barely moving, and water's coming in, you know, into the boat because of that heaviness. And I think looking at that analogy is really, you can look at that as reality based too. That are you going to just sit in that boat and barely move and just prevent yourself from getting to the place where you want to go, or are you going to hand them life jackets and push them over the boat and get rid of them? I mean, really, that's what it comes down to get to the place. Keep the people that listen, that want to help you benefit. You want to help them benefit. They listened. They're light. They have nothing with them, and you get to your island where they can thrive. You can thrive, and that really is, I think, an analogy of energy. Because what people don't understand is the people you keep around you. And I agree with everything you just said, Elix. Those are the telltale signs to figure this out. Yeah. But the bigger picture is, it's not just about, oh my God, this was so irritating or aggravating this afternoon with them, but I'm so tired when I get home. But people think, well, but they're gone now. But they're not really gone. That energy is still sitting with you, and it will absolutely define where you're going next. and it
Absolutely.
will be a barrier or prevent you.
Yeah, that is. Listen, I love your metaphor, your analogy, and thankfully you said that you're gonna give them life jackets because I would have been horrified if you said I'm just gonna throw them overboard.
I almost did. I really
Oh
almost
my
did.
goodness! So at least you say I love you. Here's a life jacket, and then you just push them over the boat, or overboard. I guess that's the right way.
I
But
don't
no,
think I said I love you, but at least I gave him a life jacket.
okay, well, I would say I love you, and bye. Anyways, listen, we do need to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about how do we let go, because that is hard. That's really really hard. And what are some things that we can do to let go of those relationships perhaps that are no longer serving us. So let's take a small break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back. My li- uh, and hello everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex. With me, my amazing co-host.
Stephen the Medium.
And today we are having a thought-provoking, really important conversation about relationships, how to build them, how to nurture them, how to heal from relationships, and how to let go. And Stephen, let me ask you, what are some of the steps that we can take? What would you tell our listeners? Some of the things that they can do to let go when they recognize that a relationship is no longer serving them. How to let go of that relationship, because that's pretty hard. In my own personal experience, it's probably one of the hardest things to do.
I think it is, Elix, but I will tell you, if you back up a little bit, one expression that I use in this subject matter is let go and let in. You can't let go until you let in. And what I mean by that is that even if you have all the signs, or even if you're getting to that place that you sort of realize that this person is needs to be cut, I say you can't let go until you let in. it's not going to happen unless you let in yourself, right? And I'm not talking about the personality, I'm talking about your soul. You have to let in everything that exists about you, why you're here, the meaning you're here, and you have to let it in to the degree of 100% accepting of it. So if you let in just a portion of yourself, and say you don't let everything in because you're still hung up on I'm not skinny enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not nice enough, it is going to be almost impossible to let go. Because if you do let go of that person, another person's going to replace it because you didn't let everything in of yourself. If you don't start there, then you can't get to the let go. So you can't let go until you let in. And it really is about, I think, answering your question too, Elix, when you do let in and you know who you are, you know your meaning, you're 100% accepting. That doesn't mean there's days that you're like so just aggravated of something about yourself, but overall you let everything in, then I don't think it is that difficult. I mean, of course, if you have emotional ties and it's been a while and stuff that you've had relationships, of course, that pulls on the heartstrings in many ways. But I think when you let yourself completely in, then it's easier to do because you know I'm first, I know where I'm going, and this is what I need to do. And you know that when you let go, that the person replacing that person is going to be the person that you need.
And for me, Stephen, it almost feels like it feels like a loss. So I'm thinking, based on what I heard you say, is that we have to allow ourselves to grieve the loss, and that's hard, Stephen. You know, because I know I have current situations where I know I had to let go, but I'm still grieving the loss. How do you cope with that? Is it the same as grieving somebody that dies?
Well, I mean, it's grief, right? I mean, grief can take many different angles, different ways. So yeah, I mean, of course it is. But I think that's why I started with you can't let go until you let in, Elix, because that piece is what helps you get through the grieving process. When you're grieving when you're losing something, but when you start from the place of understanding the reason why you're letting go is because you let yourself completely in, it takes a whole different perspective. It takes a whole different meaning and feeling. And yes, of course, it doesn't mean that we're robots and we don't feel things, but it really does. You always have that piece saying, listen, I know how difficult this is. I know I have to go through this grieving process. But for me to get to where I want to be and be in my passion and purpose and happy and have those relationships that are going to just like that I love, that are going to feed me and I'm going to feed them, I think it just makes it a little bit easier to get through that grieving process. I think it quickens it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I'm also thinking, Stephen, again, as I'm listening to you, talking about letting go and letting in, that part of that let in is to also focus on self-discovery. Yes. And practice self-compassion, with one another. And you can't do that unless you let in, right?
Absolutely.
It just doesn't happen. And then the other thing for me, and again, I'm talking from personal experience, and Stephen knows how it's very, very difficult for me to sometimes let go. Is also learning from the experience, learning from the tail signs of what happened so that it doesn't happen again. Does that make sense to you, Stephen? Of
course. I love that. It's what you just said, Elix, is just another way of bringing me back to what I originally said when we signed contracts to come here. We're coming to learn something, and that's exactly what you just said. It's learning. This is the school here, right? The earth is the school. We are here to learn, and to learn for maybe things we didn't learn the last time we were here, or just new things that we need to learn. Learning new relationships, and it's all about learning.
Yeah. Stephen, and again, we don't have a lot of time, but this just popped into my head because one of the things, again, as I'm thinking, as you said, letting go, letting in, I think about seeking closure, for forgiving also, because I think forgiveness is necessary often as part of this process. But what up? I think there are certain relationships that may be easier than others. What about when you have to let go of family? Because that's hard, Stephen.
Yeah, that can be extremely hard, like very, very hard. And I think, this is, I don't say that this is so easy. All right, well, just listen to Stephen and you let in and then you can let go. It's not. But at least it's a help. It helps in the process. And I think, Elix, what you just asked is why so many people don't do that.
Yes.
But the problem is that if they don't do that, then they're definitely not benefiting themselves, and they're not going to get to their passion and their purpose and their meaning to the extent that they would have if they put themselves first. And I think the forgiveness piece is, you have to start forgiving. The forgiving piece has to start with yourself. You have to forgive yourself for whatever, and then the second part of that is then forgive the person, if that's necessary.
Yeah, I listen. This has been healing for me, and so I hope for those of you listening that this conversation gave you an opportunity to perhaps acknowledge the relationships in your life that are working, the ones that are not working, and perhaps listen to Stephen in his really spiritual advice as to how to recognize when something's not working and how to let go. Let go, let in. I love that, Stephen. Let go, let in. And letting in, it's not possible unless you let go. That's what
No, it's the opposite. You can't let go unless you let in.
Ooh, okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. You cannot let go unless you let in.
And if you really think about it, if you're in a relationship that you've always had that sort of feeling, that idea, or maybe that it's just a toxic relationship that's just not benefiting you. If you just stop and take a step back and just think, have I really let myself in 100%? And ultimately, I guarantee you it's going to be no, because if you did, you wouldn't be putting up with that relationship. If you let in, you let go.
I love that. I hope everyone has found as much value in this conversation as I have. But we are at the top of the hour, so unfortunately we do have to let go of today's conversation. But we'll be back next week. So you can tune in again live, 1 p.m., WARA 1320 AM radio, every Friday at 1. And the last Friday of every month, Stephen the Medium takes over. So, Stephen, quickly, how can people get a hold of you?
You just go to my website. I'm on social media, is all the same, Stephen the Medium. But if you go to my website, you'll see my classes or courses coming up, my events, a whisper in a note, book a reading. It's all in Stephen the Medium.
Beautiful. And if you are not connected with me, you should be at Coach Elex anywhere on social media, as well as my website. Mark Clark, our producer, thank you. Mr. Jim Jones, our GM, thank you. The staff at WARA, thank you. And all of you, our listeners, thank you for tuning in and sharing your time and attention so generously with us. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.